Hello, this is James St. James, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how to maintain a healthy relationship with your body. Join me on my journey as I integrate ancient and modern medicines to reverse engineer intuitive healing so that you can re-engineer your body and mind to live vibrantly once again. In this episode, I want to cover a few ways in which the relationship with your body is affecting your mind and your health. First of all, why do I say relationship with the body rather than fixing the body directly? If you try to fix the body directly, you're going to have bad long-term results. However, when we maintain our relationship with our body, then we can understand how to approach every single situation from a point of compassion and care that leads to long-term positive results. For you are just a collection of your experiences and logic that you've accumulated throughout your lifetime. And how you treat your body is completely up to you. And how you treat your body is the definition of your relationship with your body. So instead of trying to think, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, first think about how you think of your body. Is your body just a tool that you use to get from place to place and move through society? Is it something that you just use up as you're playing sports? Or is it like a temple to you? Or is it something that's precious and delicate and should be maintained and taken care of? Based on how you think about your body is going to determine a lot about how you take care of it, how you maintain it, and the end result of how good it's functioning over time. Firstly, a lot of people who have a good body don't actually have a good relationship with their body. This may not make too much of a difference when you're very young, but over time, that essence of how you think about your body and how you treat your body will eventually turn into some for good health and vitality, and for others could develop into diseases, could become illness, could become mental deficiencies. It could show up in many ways in which we lack the physiological or the mental functionality that we once had. To give an example, a lot of people think that the shape of their body is a determining factor in the well-being of their body. Now, of course, it's not great to have so much excess fat, and it could hinder certain things such as cardiovascular function. But at the same time, it's not a focus, it's not a point of damage. Excess fat doesn't actually damage the body. Excess fat is the result from having damage in particular areas of the body that have to do with the metabolic function of fat storage. So when people become confused and they try fixing the body rather than understanding the relationship with the body, they end up becoming or acting desperately. And in this desperation, maybe they have a date coming up, or maybe they want to look good for a job interview. And to do this, they think that they need to be skinnier. But what they do is they'll take diet pills, or they go on special fruit diets, or join some kind of rigorous exercise program, or even surgery. And all of these things will end up harming the body more than it helps it. Yes, you'll look skinnier, but what's the cost? If the cost is causing more damage to other weak points in your body, other physiological systems that are in a more critical state, then you could end up hurting yourself, which actually happens quite often in our society. People, and especially maybe you've heard of stories from Hollywood, where actresses will be doing something to lose weight and end up accidentally killing themselves. When I see this, it looks like they're trying to make the body and force it to be a certain way or in a certain image that they developed or imagined in their mind. Now, if you have this image in your mind, okay, this is what my body should look like, it's a great thing, but if you're putting it into an action where you're just going to go directly to that without actually giving your body the underlying support that it needs to be able to function well, then what you're creating is a temporary hack, or you're creating a shortcut. And when it comes to physiological or biological systems, shortcuts created with short-sighted insight into how the body works, they don't end up actually working out for an ultimate benefit or a long-term strategy. They only end up getting the goal, but usually, or always, almost always, the sacrifice will be much greater than the end result, and especially if not done carefully. But what if, instead of trying to play tricks on our body to maybe look a certain way, what if we actually tried to fix the underlying issues that were causing something like excess weight gain? Now, don't get me wrong, eating healthy and going out for a good amount of exercise is a good thing. But if not applied in a way that works with the body, and you're doing it to achieve a short-term goal, that can be considered abuse or can be seen as irresponsible, not by me or anybody, but in terms of the laws of biology, because what you're doing is your short-term goal is causing you to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you are pushing yourself beyond a physiologically sustainable equilibrium. When your body moves out of that equilibrium, it then develops excess damage that otherwise you would not have. And as your body continues to accumulate this damage, many problems will become worse. Your weight may go down, but you also have to think about your sugar metabolism. You have to think about your cardiovascular situation. There are literally thousands of aspects that may suffer because of this one goal. And in terms of a long-term strategy, it's not a very good one. This is just one example, being the idea of weight loss, but I figure it's really common and a lot of people can relate to it. But just know that I could bring up thousands of examples where people are trying to take shortcuts and create these short-term strategies, end up harming them more than it helps them in the long run. My main point is that we don't need to trick the body into doing something, some kind of physiological function, or to feel a certain way, or to perform in a certain way. We can just fix the underlying issues, the damage that was originally keeping that from happening, keeping those emotions from happening. That way we don't have to do things like smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol or drink energy drinks, because these kind of drugs, they just add a chemical into the body, and that chemical just hyperactivates a certain physiological system, usually associated with a particular organ. Then once that organ is hyperactivated, we begin feeling, say, more social or more energetic. These are feelings that we had back when we were children, but since accumulating so much stress and so much damage in our life, we lost those feelings. So that when we drink alcohol and when we smoke cigarettes and when we do these kind of things, that we're merely just remembering or reminiscing just for a temporary period of time what it felt like when we were children. But the sacrifice is we just push ourselves and our organs out of their physiological equilibrium, causing long-term and permanent or semi-permanent damage. This is not an effective health strategy, and I wouldn't recommend it. But at the same time, I can understand exactly why we do it, and I've been guilty of many things in my past as well, probably more guilty than most. And it is difficult. You have to have a very long-term idea in your mind for where you want to be, not in society, but with your mind and with your health. And it takes a lot of patience, and it's uncomfortable to actually have to go through and fix all the damage that's within you rather than, say an 8-minute ab program or a diet pill that you can just take once a day. These things can produce very fast results that look good on the outside and might win you the date or whatever it might be. But at the same time, you just have to understand yourself and know what's valuable for you and think about your long-term strategy. If you don't have a long-term strategy, I guess you're free to do whatever you want to do. But if you plan on keeping your mental health many years into the future, then you might have to rethink some of your habits, and maybe you don't have to completely go cold turkey to cut them off or anything, but just to consider them to be in balance more, and maybe to a lesser degree. Unfortunately, there is no shortcut to undoing long-term physiological damage. And I hate to give this really cliche phrase to you with the 2 most hated words probably in the world, but it does take hard work and dedication in order to actually solve the underlying issues, which means also patience as well. But if you have that patience and you're willing to commit to fixing the issues that were created in your body throughout your life, then it is possible that you can undo that damage, that you can get your vitality back, and that you don't need things like alcohol to be social. You don't need caffeine or amphetamines to feel energetic. You don't need cigarettes to have mental clarity. You can just wake up feeling that way, like you were when you were a child. You were able to do it then, and if you fix the damage and put your body back into the same state that you were at that time, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to live like that once again. Secondly, by solving some of the deeper issues that you may see as a pressing immediate problem, it also may inevitably require you to solve surface level problems or many other problems along the way. So you're going to be getting many benefits just in your mental clarity, your vitality, maybe your skin might lighten up when you're on your way to solve something that's really deeply ingrained into our stress patterns, such as excess weight gain. I know my minister, Dr. David Bruner, he once said, it's not about how many years are in your life, but rather how much life is in your years. And so just think about the quality of life that you have, rather than thinking of, oh, I'm gonna sacrifice, this time or this energy into fixing these problems, but they're not the exact problem that I want to fix most. And that's where, yes, if you think a little bit long term with it, it's great, because from that moment forward, even if you just fix the smaller problems, you will regain just, a percentage of your mental clarity, a percentage of your focus, your awareness, and all these physical things, maybe even your sexual health will improve as well. Those things will become inevitably better just the more damage that you generally fix throughout your body. So hopefully that can motivate you to keep going and on your journey to repair your body and bring yourself into a better condition and a better state and a better feeling from moving on forward. With the first point being that we should not be tricking our body, but rather developing a foundation of wellness through fixing the damage that has happened. The next point I want to bring up is about that myth that is constantly deceiving us, which is time heals. Time does not heal anything. In fact, time just causes usually things to become worse, because as we encounter more stress, that stress tends to compound and create bigger issues and make the issues that we have even more ingrained and more difficult to solve. So time actually more likely will do the opposite of healing. So with that said, we're all battling and we're facing this issue of time. The sooner that we can heal, the sooner we can have an advantage over the damage and the illness that's been created within our body. Think of the way that damage accumulates in the body, much like using a credit card. When you were born, the universe gave you a credit card that said, okay, you have this much health to spend. And When we're young, we go through, we play on the playground, we might have fallen down, we get back up, we use our emotions in all sorts of ways. We get angry, we get frustrated, we have resentment, unforgiveness, and judgment. And we do all these things not really with any repercussions for many years, lasting into high school, college for some, maybe even throughout the 20s for others. But at some point in our life, we get to a point where we feel like we're no longer able to just rebound, just get right back up. That's not because of some thing that happens mysteriously as we've circled the sun a mystical amount of times, or a certain amount of times predestined for your soul, or whatever you might think. It's not because of age, but it's rather because you've used up your credit card. And what I mean by that, the human body is amazingly proficient at translocating the stress to parts of our body that don't inhibit the main physiological and mechanical functions, so that you can continue to move and think and do the things that you want to do without having these things stop you from doing that. Now, what's sad is that for a lot of people, they use up all their credit card spending by the time they're in high school, or even some sooner than that. Then they start being diagnosed with their first disease, or having a serious mental issue such as anxiety, diagnosed or undiagnosed. And for something like that to happen, something as serious as anxiety to be occurring in a middle schooler or a high schooler, literally tens of thousands of physiological functions need to be either broken or deficient in order for that to happen. Now, if you think about that, that's many points of damage that have gone unresolved, and they are not fixed. So when these kids these days, and I think the statistic is that over 50% of children, by the time they get to high school, will already be diagnosed with at least one mental disorder. With that said, there's a lot of people who have gone through and they've damaged so many thousands of things. I mean, these are really small things, but they're small things that could have been fixed. And if we are to fix those things, then we don't have to have statistics like this. But in order to fix those things, that's where having a different relationship with our body would come into play. The way I was raised was that, you do sports, and I played soccer and I ran track, is that you push your body to its maximum. You sit in a chair and you push your brain, on whatever schoolwork it was, to its maximum, regardless of anything, regardless of how you feel, regardless of the pain, and you just keep using your body as if it were like a hammer that could easily be replaced at Home Depot. And if this is your relationship with your body, then it would be unrealistic to expect in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s that it will keep working well. It seems like, it's like, unless we come out with some super gene therapy, cellular replacement technology, then that's not going to be possible. So the reality of living with a human body is that as we move through life, we need to protect the body from encountering damage, whether it be from environmental stressors such as the pollution in the air, or our emotions becoming uncontrolled and feeling things like worry and anxiety, or even to mechanical stresses such as impact or injury from sports. We need to be very articulate and careful with how we structure our lifestyle so that our body is not damaged from those things. And then when it does take on the damage, we need to be right there to fix it and take responsibility, and based on how we feel. A lot of us, when we're children, we complain, I feel so tired, I want to sleep in, I don't feel like going to school because I don't like sitting there and thinking so much, and doing all this work is stressful on my mind, or doing this sport and practicing this training drill over and over and over, I feel exhausted. Now, it may be what got us through the class or got us through that competition, but at the end of the day, there are many things that were sacrificed in order to make that happen. We may have lost even thousands of small physiological functions because of these goals that either our parents or ourselves that we set for ourselves. In summary, we need to reduce the damage as much as possible. When the damage does happen, we need to fix it. And we just need to take responsibility along the path so that our body can continually operating at its peak physiological function far into the future. So don't trick the body, and make sure to take care of the body as you go. The last point I want to bring up is to stay inside your comfort zone. Going outside of your comfort zone seems like a good idea if you're a motivational speaker. But if you're a human being trying to survive in a stressful world, you may want to hold back your horses a little bit to say, okay, let's instead just stay in our comfort zone, so that way we can just reduce the amount of damage that we're going to be taking on through this crazy and chaotic life. Only through reducing the amount of damage can we actually reduce the physiological stress and then preserve our mental capability and our physical capabilities. I know for some people, staying inside your comfort zone seems like, oh, well, how am I going to grow from that? But in fact, we can grow a lot, but it's not about going outside of your comfort zone, but rather growing your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is going to be determined by the level of physiological and physical and mental capability that you have. As our body becomes more damaged over time, we lose that functionality, whether it be in our body or our mind, and say, for example, maybe our energy level. So when someone comes to us and says, hey, do you want to go on a hike up this mountain? For some of you, you might be like, of course, because that's the perfect thing to do. And maybe you're a person who has a lot of energy. But for someone who has lost a lot of their vitality, they think of hiking up a mountain as completely ridiculous. Like, no, I wouldn't want to do that. That's going to be way too much energy for me to go up to the top of this mountain. The difference is, for one, it's in their comfort zone because one didn't lose their energy. One still has the physiological components that are associated with their core vitality still intact and undamaged. Now for that person, they're going to have a different comfort zone, but for the other person, their comfort zone is going to be smaller, and they're going to require more comfort and a more relaxing environment in order to be physiologically sustainable to the point where they can maintain themselves. Now, that's also reversible because in there being damaged, that's shrinking our comfort zone because of the lack of capability and functionality within us. We also have the ability to fix that damage. And as a person can regain their functionality and their vitality and their energy by fixing the damage, well then your comfort zone will naturally grow as well. So maybe you feel like you can't hike that mountain now, but if you fix the damage in the future, then you can. Another thing that people worry about is seeming lazy, because if I say, oh, well, stay inside your comfort zone, well, your comfort zone right now might be, well, I don't really ever feel like going to work, and I don't really feel like doing this thing, and I only show up to that because I have to. And if I don't do those things, well, then I'm not gonna be able to live the lifestyle that I want. And for this, I just want to point out the fact that being lazy isn't really possible when you talk about a biological being. The reason I say that is a lot of people don't realize for a biological being, our body is always performing at 100%. If it's not thinking and moving around, it tends to just switch to other functions such as digesting or repairing parts of the body and healing. In fact, the highest level of performance moments that we experience throughout the day is actually when we're sleeping. See, when we're sleeping, we engage in many processes that repair the body, and they're really intense. And to a bystander, it looks like, oh, he's just resting, he's just being lazy. But don't think of being lazy as you're doing nothing. In fact, you might even be doing more lying down than you are sitting at the computer, doing tasks. But it's just the redirection of goals. In one aspect, you are accomplishing goals on the inside of you, and the other aspect, you are accomplishing goals on the outside of you. Just because you're accomplishing goals on the outside or not accomplishing goals on the outside doesn't mean that you're any lacking in terms of a person. This is where it comes to just understanding and listening to what's inside you. Your subconscious is keeping track of how much you've slept, how much you've eaten, what kind of nutrients you may need, and millions of other factors, so that you will know, oh, this feels comfortable, this doesn't feel comfortable. For most people, it's really important to give yourself a break. You're never being lazy. And if someone says that you're lazy, you can just kick them in the balls. It's okay, I told you, it's from me. So just give them one nice whip kick, and it's on James St. James, and they can deal with me if they have an issue with that. And just to remind them in a nice way that there's no such thing as being lazy. You are just being a balanced human being. The last point I want to bring up in terms of forming our relationship with the body is not to blame the body. See, in our perspective, we want the mind to go faster. We want it to figure out more things. We want it to be more funny or more social. Or we want the body to be faster at running or better at this sport. But the reality is that we're dealing with a very complex biological system. It's already performing at its best. The only thing that's holding it back from performing more is just the damage that you've accumulated through your life. And so your body is performing at absolutely 100% for you every single moment, in every single second, in every single day. Now, if you want to feel an emotion towards your body, it shouldn't be blame. That's an inappropriate reaction. A more appropriate reaction to your body's lack of performance or your mental lack of performance is compassion, care, and sympathy. Because it's like having, say, a dog, and maybe your dog got hit by a car and it can't walk very fast. And say you want to go walk the dog and you put it on the leash and it's limping, and do you turn around and do you hit the dog, or do you care for the dog? In the same way, we must care for our body. And now we're not going to take a stick and start hitting our body, obviously, if it's not working, but what we do is something very similar, which is, oh, I don't feel energy, let me slam down an energy drink. Oh, I don't feel social, let me drink alcohol. These kind of things are like taking a physiological stick and just hitting your body to overstimulate your organs. Doing this causes long-term damage, and at the end of the day, it's going to set you back, and it's very not compassionate. So if instead you can treat your body with compassion, that would lead you down a road to where the end result would be better mental health in the long run. These are just a few ideas that you can use to reshape your relationship with your body so that you can build long-term vitality and mental health to accomplish the goals and the dreams that you truly feel that you were meant to do. I hope you found this video useful. If you could think of someone who might benefit from this information, then please feel free to share this video or series with them. Also, please feel free to check out the other videos in this channel, as we're producing almost a video a week with the intention of bringing you tools to help you transform your mind so that you can improve your mental and physical performance. If you would like to support our mission to provide mental wellness to the world, then please consider making a tax-deductible donation to the Nootripure Foundation, which is a link in the description. And I look forward to helping you create a better you.